What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I just watched a movie called Eternals, starring Richard Madden, Gemma Chan, and Kumail Nanjiani. I messed his name up so bad. First of all, let's talk about the path that Marvel has chosen recently. Because when Marvel started out, it was a little rough. Not rough, but it was a gamble. But that Iron Man movie, after that took off, it was just smooth sailing for a while. Because we were introduced to characters that we were pretty much familiar with already. Especially if you're a comic book reader. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, all right? And then they had a pretty good successful route through on out that whole little era. For a while. Then I started to see the clouds form and the lightning strike. And I knew something was wrong when they put out Miss Marvel. Yes, Miss Marvel was the first sign. Not because no one knew who she was. Well, if you read the comic books, you knew who she was, okay? But the problem is, even in the comics and the path they were going with her character, the new reinvented Miss Marvel was not liked very much. It was not liked at all. So their choice to bring her to the big film, the big screen, I'm confused to this day why they did it. Because that was a bad movie. It was horrible. It was trash. All right. So I try to forgive them for that one. Okay. And then they came out with ShangChi or Chai or Shang or however you pronounce it. And while it was not a bad movie, it wasn't great. And this was really their first time just throwing a gamble out there and giving us a character that not even the comic book readers were that familiar with or knew that much about or really cared about. I don't know. And I was like, okay, this is the guy who trained everybody. I never heard of him because I'm not a super duper comic book head like that. But even people who were, they were like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? All right. So we had to kind of turn the head on that one. And now we have Eternals, another unfamiliar group of people. All right. Not really in the comic books, but they were not something everybody was asking for. So my question is, after the other tries, will this be the first unpopular character that's going to work for Marvel? About to find out. Let's go. Eternals, for those who don't know, for those who are not aware, even if you were not asking for this movie, you still are very aware that they're trying this. You're aware that they're trying this. Do not fight it. You cannot fight the feeling. You know what's up. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. Eternals is pretty much about a group of immortal beings who have been around on Earth for years and years and centuries, and that's how immortal works. All right. So, and they've been told not to interfere with human disputes and conflicts unless deviants are involved. And so that's what they did. Until all of a sudden deviants started to pop back up after being believed to be gone from Earth forever. And so now we have our conflict with that. And that is the premise of the movie. Positives. The first thing I can get out of this movie from watching it, thank goodness, was the fight scenes. All right. It was the fact that every time they had a fight scene in this movie, each character was given an equal amount of time to showcase their powers, whether it be very stupid or just a very cool, thing that they do, a very cool power of theirs, right? And I appreciated that. And you do get a lot of fight scenes, a great abundance of fight scenes in this movie, which is also good. You get to see Kumal's powers. You get to see the Sprite and what she can do. You get to see Droid and his ability to control people's minds. They're all given powers that were that of a god in some sorts. All right. So I like that. I like that part very much. Decent fight scenes all the way throughout, so to speak. Next positive, the big reveal. All right. Of course, I can't say that what the big reveal is, but the big reveal, the reason I liked it is because it happens with a character that seemed to be solid and very well put together. And when you find out what they are really all about, you're not going to guess. You're not going to guess what's going to happen with that. It's going to hit you like a freight truck, a freight train, whatever the hell. It's going to hit you like a Big Mac truck. There we go. And the reason I like that is because I'm usually very good at catching a twist or a reveal before it happens. In this case, I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. And a lot of you, when you watch this, I don't know if you're going to care once you see the reveal. But once I saw it, I was kind of wondering, should I care about this? Then I was like, yes, I should, because they did it in a way that I did not detect that. And since you passed my detectors, I have to give you a lot of props for that big reveal in this movie. Okay? When you see it, you'll know. And my last positive for this, the character dynamic. I really like the character, because there are a lot of characters in this movie. So I like, not every character was interesting, but for the characters that were. And the two main ones that I really enjoyed were Droid and Kingo. Hear me out. Droid, he was the first one to really bring or kind of spark a little bit of conflict within the group, because they were told not to interfere with human wars and conflict and fights, anything like that. But Droid was like, kill all that. We have powers. We are almost like gods. Well, we can't help out when we see something's wrong is going on. We can't jump in and say, hey, we're not going to do this today. And he was so enraged about that he had to do something. And I kind of felt him on that. Even though he wasn't really popular with the group for doing that, he had to do what he had to do. He had to make his choice as his own person. I respect that on Droid. Kingo stood out to me because when they all split up and pursued their own lives, posing as humans, Kingo decided to go the Hollywood route. Okay, he wanted to be that actor. And that brought the humor, because Kumal is a very funny guy. He's made me laugh in a lot of comedies, and he brought the humor in this, or he did the best that he could, man. In a movie like this, he did the best he could, and he really stood out for me, because you need some laughs. You need some laughs from here and there, even in an action comic book movie. You need laughs somewhere, and he delivered all of that. So I respect those two characters for what they brought. Now let's get to those many negatives. All right. First negative. This movie, it didn't have that Marvel feel. It was strange. It was a very strange feel. And you're gonna hate me for this. This movie felt like a DC film. It had the DC film aura to it. And that's why I said I probably like the fight scenes in this one. The fight scenes stood out because DC usually has decent fight scenes. Almost better than Marvel sometimes. And it could be a good thing and a bad thing, but in this case, it's still a bad thing. Because when I go to see a Marvel movie, I want to get that Marvel feel. When I go to see a DC movie, I want to have the DC feel. All right? Well, the good one. The good ones. Not the bad DC feels. And it just didn't have that for me here. All right? I did not. This is the only movie that did. Even Miss Marvel had the Marvel feel. Not this one, man. Not this. Just it was lacking that whole vibe was lacking. It was just something missing in that. Did not strike well with me. Another negative for me. Weak villains. This movie had nothing but weak villains in it. The deviants were faceless, to say the most. They were nothing. They none of them stood. There was one that stands out, but it's still not impressive. It wasn't an impressive villain. The one that did stand out. The one that the being that could actually. I'm not gonna say what they could actually do, but you'll notice when it happens. Okay. That one deviant that stood out from everybody else, even him put in a crowd of other Marvel villains, he wouldn't stand out. He wouldn't stand out by himself, which is sad. Now, the fight scenes were still good, of course. I'm not taking away from the fight scenes against them, but them themselves were just nameless. They were nameless. It didn't really feel like they mattered. Like, when they get defeated, it was like, I don't care. I don't care. I do not care. All right. Now, there is something else that happens within this movie that kind of helps that out as far as conflict and antagonist. But you'll have to watch the movie for that. It still doesn't make up for the actual villains, which we are expecting. Okay. Let's put it like that. All right. Another negative for me. Now, usually I don't mind when a movie has a couple of flashbacks in it, as long as it's done tastefully and not in a Naruto style. Okay. But with this one, they went back and forth and back and forth so many damn times. I got dizzy. And I got nauseous. Like I was on a roller coaster. I didn't understand why they went back so many times in the past. Pick a time section, pick a time, okay? And stick with it. You're going to stay in the future? You're going to stay in the past? Or you're going to stay in the present? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Roll with that and end it the way it needs to be ended. Stop going back and forth and back and forth. There were some flashbacks that were not even needed in this movie. I swear. So that I was a little annoyed. It's the first time I was annoyed by that. Usually I'm not annoyed by that, but this time it was too much. It was too much, man. Another negative. Last negative. Angelina Jolie's character, Thena. For some reason, her character was doing so well. I liked she was a battle, she's a warrior, all that. But then there was a part where, for some reason, she just started fighting her teammates. And it was something, I thought that something else was going on. But it wasn't that. It's just some kind of nervous tick that she has. And I was like, why are they doing this? What? There's no need to do this. Make her do it unless there's a reason behind it. I did not like the route they went with that. What was the point of making her do that? And then the outcome of her whole situation was, there was nothing to it. All right? So with all that said, I have to give this movie an aight. Yes, an aight. All right? There's some things that saved it, which I cannot mention. But if it wasn't for that, that rating would be a lot lower. All right? Marvel, do better. Step your game up a little bit. Get back to the basics. All right? Press that like button. Subscribe to my channel. And share that video.